Have fun, you guys.
All right, thank you. So as we get set up here, if you want to grab a blanket, a towel, maybe a couple blocks, if you have a yoga strap or a belt, you won't necessarily need any or all of these things, but just to have them handy just in case. And I'm going to go get myself situated, and we'll get started here in a little bit. Welcome everyone to our winter solstice yoga class. So winter solstice is the day when we have the least amount of daylight. And this year it occurs on this next Tuesday on the 21st. And it's a great time to turn your attention inward with all the darkness in the external world. It's a good time to shine the light or look for the light that's within you. And today's class, we're going to be doing, this is a yin style class. So any props that you need, blankets, blocks, yoga straps, have handy here for the class in case you need them. So in yin style yoga, yin style is more of a slower paced class. So we're not going to be moving fast at all. It's a very calming and relaxing type of yoga. But it can also be pretty intense too, because it's a lot of stretching, especially stretching for the hips. So we're going to do a lot of hip stuff today. There'll be a little bit of vinyasa, but it's going to be a low flow vinyasa. So I don't think we'll be doing really any standing poses at all today. So this class, in addition to being a yin class, is also focused on one of the 8 limbs of yoga called Pratyahara. The first 4 limbs are more external type things like the yamas and the niyamas, which is how you treat yourself, how you treat people in the world around you. The pranayama, which is the breath techniques, the breath control, the asana, which is the physical poses. And we spend most of our time in yoga classes here in the US in asana. And asana is just one of the 8 limbs, okay? So those are the first 4. And then the 5th limb is Pratyahara. And Pratyahara is the bridge from the external to the internal. And then the last 3 limbs of yoga have to do with meditation. So Pratyahara is really getting yourself into that state where you can obtain higher levels of meditation. And Pratyahara itself isn't a technique. There isn't like a certain thing we can do to obtain Pratyahara. Pratyahara itself is a state of being. And it's a state of being where your senses, instead of going outward, where you're looking, listening, tasting, feeling the external world, you take that focus and you turn it inward. And it's that state where you're still aware of what's happening around you, but you have your attention pulled in. So everything around you, it's like you're detached from it. It's not affecting you. You're not reacting to the sounds and the smells and the sights around you because you are totally plugged into your own central self. So yin yoga really lends itself to that because the ways we obtain Pratyahara, since it isn't a technique in itself, the ways we obtain that or can get ourselves into that state of sense withdrawal is by making the body very still. When the body is still, the mind becomes still. We can also focus on the breath, drawing our attention to the breath, feeling that flow, watching the flow in and out. We can also use the sensation. So when we get into these yin poses, these hip openers, there's a lot of sensation there, right? So you can focus on that sensation, that internal sensation. Instead of the external sensation, you're focusing on what you're feeling on the inside. So those are ways that we're going to explore today to see if maybe we can obtain a state of Pratyahara. And chances are you may have already experienced it before. You just didn't know what it was. It's kind of when Jamie and I call it getting in the zone. So when you're in a yoga class and you're in a pose and you just kind of like forget where you are. And all of a sudden you like kind of wake up to where you are and you're like, oh my goodness, I just went away for a while. Well, in Carol's opinion, that would be Pratyahara because you're so absorbed in yourself internally that everything else literally went away for a while. Now, granted, if a fire alarm went off or somebody walked by you, you would notice them. It's not like you're totally like turned it off, but you've numbed it a little bit. You've dimmed it down so you can focus inward. All right, enough said about that. Let's make our way onto our back. Go ahead and make yourself comfortable. Reclined on your back with your knees bent, soles of the feet on the mat. Maybe resting your hands on your belly. Let your knees rest in towards one another. So arranging your feet so that the legs, the weight of each leg can rest against the other, supported. And let's take several rounds of deep breaths. So breathing into the belly, and exhale, letting it go. Inhale, feeling the belly rise into the palms of the hands. And then on the exhale, the belly drops away from the palms. One more of these deep breaths on your own. And gently separate the knees enough so that you can draw one knee in towards the chest. The opposite leg extends out on the mat. Finding a single leg stretch, hugging that knee in towards the chest, maybe in towards the shoulder. Take a deep breath in, a deep breath out. Let's bring both knees in. We're going to switch to the other side. So now the second leg extends out on the mat, finding a single leg stretch on this side. Hugging the knee in towards the shoulder or towards the chest. Deep breath in and a deep breath out. Bring both knees in towards the chest. Hugging both knees in towards the chest or towards the shoulders. Starting to rock back and forth, side to side, massaging out the back of the body, especially the hips, the sacral area. Maybe circling out the knees, changing the direction of the circle. And then let's bring the feet back to the mat, about hip distance apart or whatever's comfortable for you. And then bringing your arms out to a T, palms up to start. And then let's turn the right palm down on the floor. So one palm is facing skyward, the other palm is facing down. We're going to keep our head in neutral to start. Our legs stay where they are. We're going to focus on the shoulders and the arms. So slowly beginning to turn. So now we're going to switch so that the palm that's facing down will face up and the palm that's facing up will face down. Slowly rotating the arms. And then once you come all the way to the opposite side, go ahead and switch. So if it's comfortable for you, go ahead and close your eyes here. And I want you to feel the sensations in your arms, your shoulders, anywhere else you feel sensation by doing these arm rotations. Like this is the most interesting thing you have ever done. you're welcome to add the head movement here. So whichever palm is skyward, go ahead and turn your head towards that palm. And then as you rotate the arms, the gaze rotates. So that by the time the second palm is towards the sky, you're looking towards that palm. And continuing on your own, moving slowly, feeling every sensation. One more layer. So now as you come all the way to a side with one palm up, one palm down, the gaze looking towards the upright palm, go ahead and lower both knees away from the direction you're looking. So now adding the legs, the hips into this slow rotation. As you rotate to the other side, the legs move as well. So everything is moving in unison. The legs and the gaze looking in opposite directions. What do you feel? Go ahead and finish the round that you're on. Taking your time, and then we'll meet in a side lying position. Gentle fetal position. Choosing the side that you'd like to be on right now. Take a moment or so here, and then as you're ready, let's press on up to seated. Taking your time. Into a seated position, we'll take the butterfly. So the soles of the feet are together, the knees are opened up wide. And the feet can be any distance away from the bottom of your torso. So maybe the legs are making the shape of a diamond, or maybe even more of a square. And then hands come to rest on the shins, the ankles. Just lift the heart to the sky. So you have that curve in your low back where the lumbar curve is moving in towards your abdominal area. Collarbone spread wide, head's floating up to the sky. Go ahead and close your eyes or maybe look down at the floor in front of you, choosing a drishti point, a non-moving constant point. Choosing to stay right here, or maybe starting to fold forward, like you're folding into yourself. Until you find that first sensation. Then we're going to pause and enjoy that first bit of sensation. Find your deep breath. Two or three more rounds of breath here. You're welcome to take this deeper. You're inspired to do so. And then gently release, come back to a neutral seat. Crossing the legs in, finding a seat of your choice here. If you want to sit up on a block or a blanket, you're welcome. So we'll be in this seated position for a little bit, so make yourself comfortable. Finding that lower curve in your spine where the lumbar curve moves in towards the abdominals. Hands resting on your thighs. Feeling the spine, the torso, the waist long, shoulders relaxed. So in this seated position, this is a special position. The ancient yogis figured this out. So the 5 senses here, sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. And then there's also the senses of action. So the senses of movement, of wanting to walk on your feet. Your feet are turned in here. So the ability to walk is not really available. Hands face down. So the wanting of the hands to move and do something. The hands are rooted down into the thighs. And even the actions of elimination, of procreation, are somewhat limited as well. So if you think about pulling up through the pelvic floor. And with the spine in its long open position, it's a perfect position to take deep breaths. So let's go ahead and take a few deep breaths here, really breathing into your belly. And a lot of the external stimulation, external sense comes from the sense of the sight of the eyes. So go ahead and close your eyes or choose that drishti. It's like you're looking at your forehead or maybe the inside of your eyelids, like they're a movie screen. And within you, you have your own movie, your own TV series with all your own beliefs, experiences. They're all in there. Your own song, your own music. And now for the sense of hearing. So we're going to practice a technique to help draw the sense of hearing inward. And so to do this, we'll actually plug the ears, but before we do it, I'll tell you exactly what we're going to do. So we'll plug the ears, take a deep inhale, and then as you exhale, you're going to make a humming sound. So it'll sound something like this. And then when you're done, you'll place your hands back on your thighs and take 3 deep breaths. So with your ears plugged, you won't be able to hear anybody else, but you'll be able to hear yourself, okay? So let's go ahead and practice that. So you can take your thumbs, place the thumbs right on those little flaps on the outsides of your ears and plug them shut. Take a deep breath, take your long humming exhale, and then release hands to your thighs. Here we go. So even after you unplugged your ears, you're still turning your attention into listening inside. All right, let's come into a hands and knees position, cat-cow. So since it is morning time, we will take a little bit of time to kind of wake up the spine, wake up the major joints here with some movement, as well as the yin stretches. So as you're ready, flowing through some cat-cows, as you inhale, dropping the belly, opening the chest, chin, the tailbone lifts, exhale, tuck and round into cat. Continuing to move with your breath. And on these cat-cows today, I want you to think about as you inhale and open up into the cow position, it's like you're rising with the breath. And then on the exhale, as you tuck and round, you're bowing into yourself, folding inward. Take a few more rounds of these, enjoying the sensation, enjoying the breath, and enjoying the sense of bowing into yourself. As you find yourself in your next cow or cat pose, go ahead and draw the big toes together, hips come back to the heels, coming into a child's. Adjusting the placement of your knees, making this comfortable, maybe shifting side to side. You're welcome to rest your forehead on your mat or your stacked hands. Find your deep breaths. Maybe even starting to count the length of the inhale and the exhale. So we're going to start to find a rhythm, your own personal rhythm. Maybe it's 4 counts on the inhale, 4 counts on the exhale. Maybe that's how you start. And then playing around with extending the length of the exhale. So maybe it's 4 counts in, 5 counts out. Each exhale, perhaps lengthening the count of the exhale by 1 count. One more round of breath, finding your rhythm. Once you've completed your round of breath, slowly begin to make your way to a kneeling position, Thunderbolt or rock pose. Sitting up maybe on a block if you need. If this is uncomfortable, you can come to another seated variation. So once again, the legs are tucked, the feet are tucked under, the hands are resting on the thighs. The spine is in its neutral position. You've got room to breathe. Maybe closing the eyes, turning that internal vision into your own movie screen. We'll practice one more mudra here for helping to turn the attention inward. So on this one, we'll use all 5 fingers, and we'll bring the index fingers to rest on the eyes, maybe the line of your eyelashes, just gently to hold the eyes closed. And then the middle finger rests on the outsides next to your nose. So it's just gentle pressure because you're going to use your nose to keep breathing here. So it's more of a symbol of the sense of smell. And then the ring finger rests on the top lip, the little finger rests on the bottom lip. So kind of helping to close that sense of taste, the action of speech. And then the thumbs will come once again to the ears. This time we're going to take 3 breaths. So 3 inhales, and on the exhale, make your humming sounds. Doing that 3 times, and then we'll meet with the hands on the thighs again, returning to your deep rhythmic breath. All right, here we go. Deep inhale, plug the ears. walk the hands forward, finding that tabletop position again, taking some more rounds of cat-cow. Maybe it's torso circles, making this movement your own. Waking up the spine, waking up the hips and the shoulders, the neck. And then as you're ready, let's press back into that kneeling position again. So upright spine, this time the arms are at your sides, palms face forward. On the inhale, begin to lift the arms up behind you, up towards the sky. The gaze can follow, palms meet. And on the exhale, hands pass through your center, bowing into yourself, coming into a variation of child's pose, where the prayer hands are resting on the mat and the forehead rests on the thumbs. On your inhale, rise. The arms float up on the in-breath. And on the exhale, bow into yourself. At the end of the exhale, pause here, holding this position. And then as the inhale arrives, rising one more time. Meet in our upright kneeling position. Let's walk the hands forward, curl the toes under, go ahead and press those hips back. Starting to stretch out the bottoms of the toes, the bottoms of the feet. Maybe walking the hands back towards the knees. Finding just the right position where this is comfortable, but you're feeling a sensation in the feet. Pausing here. If at any time any of these deeper stretches are too intense, you're welcome to modify. Always modifying, or even coming out of them altogether and doing something else. I welcome you to do that. I encourage you to do that. All right, let's take another couple breaths here in this broken toe pose. And then gently release, bringing the hands forward, walking the hands out. So you can uncurl the toes, tops of the feet, tops of the toes on the mat. And then we'll do our little taps, pitter-pattering on the mat. I learned this from my friend Lori. All right, walking the hands back one more time. Coming back into that kneeling position. This time, starting to shift the weight of your upper body to the back of the mat. So maybe the knees lift up. So now stretching the tops of the feet and the toes. And then let's walk it out again. Knees return to the mat, coming back into your tabletop. And then taking your time, stepping the right foot forward, coming into lizard. Or not lizard, into a lunge position. So right foot forward, left foot back. And this is where if you have blocks and you like to use blocks, this is a good opportunity to put those under your hands for support. So in yin yoga, these lunges are called dragons. So we're going to start with baby dragon, where the hands are on the mat. Maybe it's the fingertips where you have your hands tented. Go ahead and shift, adjust the placement of the feet. We're going to pause here for a couple rounds of breath. So go ahead and return to that deep rhythmic breath, your own pace that you found earlier. And close your eyes here and focus on the sensation. Focus on counting the lengths of your inhales and exhales. You're welcome to stay right here. If you'd like to take this into a twist and bring your right hand to the right knee. And then very slowly, very gently beginning to revolve towards the front leg. Coming into a twisted dragon. And finding a place to send your gaze, your head placement, so that this is comfortable on your neck. You might feel some stretching sensation. If it feels good, that's great. If it doesn't feel good, modify. And then find your deep rhythmic breath. Even closing your eyes, if that helps you from being distracted by what's around you. It's all sensation and breath. And as you're ready, gently unwind, coming back to the baby dragon. Hands on either side of the front foot. Allowing the spine to neutralize for a moment. And then choosing to stay here, or perhaps on your next inhale, beginning to rise with the hands, the arms up behind you. And then on the exhale, palms together, bowing into yourself. And bowing the head, hands to the heart. Let's do 2 more of those if these feel good. Inhale, rise on the breath. And exhale, go within, bow. 1 more. Almost like you're swimming, and on the inhale, you come up out of the water into the external world. And then on the exhale, you go underwater, bowing into that underwater internal world. And from here, let's float both hands down to the inside of the front foot. Coming into the lizard or the low dragon. Adjusting the placement of that front foot as you need. Choosing to stay on your hands. We're going to be here for a while, so take your time releasing into this low flying dragon. Find your rhythm of breath. Let that breath draw you inward into yourself, into your own movie, your own book, your own song that's inside you. Slowly, gently begin to make your way to a place where you can step that front foot back, coming into tabletop. So take your time, your hips, that leg might be super stiff right now, like you just got up. So now we're going to take some movement here. You're welcome to take cat-cows. You're welcome to take a puppy or a child. Sometimes down dog can feel super good after holding those dragons for so long. So go ahead and take the movement or the counter stretch that feels good in your body. By listening to that inner voice, watching your own movie or book, you will intuitively know what is best for you. Become your own yogi master. It's inside you always. And taking your time here. If you need more time stretching and taking this counter pose, feel free. When you're ready, you will bring the opposite foot forward, getting set up for the dragon series on the second side. returning to your rhythmic breath, and maybe this time observing how you find yourself going external and then internal. Maybe it's kind of a in and out kind of thing. Not forcing it, just letting it be natural. You can't really force Pratyahara. It just kind of happens. Your mind is focused. As you're ready, begin to find the hand to the front knee, assisting yourself into the revolution, the twist. Gently unwind. Bringing the spine back to neutral. Taking your time. Choosing to stay right here or taking those rises and bows as you inhale. Rise, like you're rising up into the external world. Open. And then on the exhale, bow into yourself. 2 more of these on your own. We'll meet with both hands on the inside of the front foot, coming into that low flying dragon, or otherwise known as lizard pose. Letting the breath draw your attention into your center, letting the sensation of your body draw you in. Sometimes when we're in a awkward position or a intense situation, the mind tries to escape by distracting itself with other thoughts. What if you can keep the thoughts, keep the focus on that sensation, on that source of perhaps discomfort? Let the breath soothe you. Slowly begin to bring yourself to a place where you can slowly, carefully release out of this dragon, finding your counter pose, your counter movement, listening to your own inner voice. enjoy 2 or 3 more rounds of breath. Right. So as we begin to transition into our next hip poses, the swan, otherwise known as pigeon, have a blanket or a towel handy to help support the hips. You may or may not need that. So from either a down dog or a tabletop, let's go ahead and start to draw. You can choose which side you want to start with first. I'm going to choose my left today. I don't know why. My intuition just says left, so I'm going to go with it. All right, so go ahead and bring that knee of your choice behind the wrist, and then start to open up the ankle, the foot, towards the right side. So you've got that shin kind of coming, maybe not quite parallel to the front of the mat. And then walk the back foot back. Go ahead and take your blanket or your towel, kind of tuck it underneath whichever hip you're working on first. I like to kind of tuck it under the outside of my hip for balance so I can feel my pelvis is more in a neutral position. We are going to be here for a nice, lovely time. So there's no rush here. If you want to take a little back bend, a little bonus back bend, feel free. And then as your inner voice speaks to you, and slowly begin to lower down, coming into the sleeping swan is what the position is called, the pose is called in yin tradition yoga. So maybe coming down onto your elbows. Let the breath soothe the hip. You hear your own intuition telling you it's time to go deeper, then listen to that voice. When your intuition tells you you need to back off, but notice what's telling you. Is it the true inner self, or is it the mind becoming bored? Just maybe be a little curious about that. The mind likes to chatter, likes to have lots of thoughts. Some of them are true, some of them are not. You're welcome to linger here. We have plenty of time. If your inner voice is telling you it's time to release, do that. As you release out of this pose, when it's your time, once again, finding that counter movement or that counter stretch to help release the tension, the stiffness in the joints, in the body. Down dog might feel good. Be coming into tabletop and stretching out, lengthening, extending that leg that you just had tucked underneath you. Moving intuitively, just like our pets do, our cats and dogs. When they stretch, they don't stretch because they want to look a certain way. They do it because it feels good. We'll take a few more moments to reset. And then when you're ready, we'll go ahead and come into the second side of the sleeping swan. And an alternative, if having your weight of your torso above your hips is maybe too extreme, another version of this is to do this on your back. The figure 4 stretch on your back is totally cool too. It stretches the same tissues. All right, so as we come into the second side, something to just think about here a little bit in terms of Pratyahara. So you know how like when you're in a crowded room, maybe it's a restaurant, and there's lots of people, lots of talking, there's the TV screens all over on the walls. There's a lot to look at, a lot to hear, and a lot to smell. If you think about if you're having dinner with somebody and you're focusing all your attention on what they're saying, and everything else, all those sights and sounds and smells around kind of fade away, and you're totally focused on what that person is saying and what they look like. So if you think about your own internal self as that person, so that everything around you, no matter what is going on, you're focused in on yourself. Drawing the senses, turning them inward. What if you could do that right now in this swan? Choosing to linger here. Choosing to slowly release out of this shape. Choosing when to move, just like you can choose what you react to in the external world. Choosing what you react to in your own internal world as well. Take your time with your counter poses, counter movement stretches. We'll eventually meet lying on the belly on the mat, face down. You make your way to your belly, go ahead and come into a crocodile. So start to kind of root down through the front of the body into the ground, so the belly, the chest. Open up the feet as wide as the mat, maybe even wider than the mat if you have the space. Toes pointed out, heels in. The hips are rotating open. And then go ahead and stack your hands or your forearms to rest the forehead on the top hand or arm. Take your deep rhythmic breath. Center yourself. So we'll take a back bend series. You can choose to stay right here in this crocodile. Or if you'd like, you can begin to make your way into Sphinx, bringing the legs back towards the center, middle of the mat. Start to lift your head, draw the hands so the palms are on the mat, right below the shoulders, elbows are bent next to your sides. We're going to slide on up, maybe it's one arm at a time. One elbow comes beneath the shoulder, and then the other elbow comes beneath the shoulder. So you've got your chest lifting up. And with those elbows, the pelvis, the feet rooted down into the mat, can you lift your heart a little higher? Can you press your heart, your chest through the upper arm bones? So feeling the compression in your backbone. If this feels good, staying here. If it's too much, if you feel like you're hurting yourself at any time, just lower back to another level, another variation. If you want to take this deeper, more compression, you bend one knee, foot floats up above, and then the other knee. So bending the knees is going to add more compression, probably feeling this maybe in your lower back. So taking care here. If you want to take this deeper, if your feet are up off the floor, go ahead and lower both feet down. And now starting to shift the weight into the hands so that you start to float the elbows up into a seal position. Again, taking care of what's going on, especially in your backbone. A little bit of compression is good. The theory is that it strengthens the bones, but too much compression can cause pain and damage. So there's a balance there between the yin and the yang, right? The yin and the yang. Too much and too little, kind of like Goldilocks. You have to find what's just right. Not too soft, not too hard. Too hot, too cold, just right. you're loving this, feel free to linger here wherever you're at. If you feel like it's time for you to release out of the back bend, go ahead and lower the belly, the chest onto the mat. Let's cactus out the arms. And then let's slide one knee up. So the inside of the thigh, the inside of the knee. It's kind of like a fallen down tree pose. The sole of the foot might be far away from the extended leg. It might be right next to the extended leg. Do what feels good. And then turn whichever knee is bent towards your side. Go ahead and turn your head that direction. Take your deep rhythmic breath. Rest. Let the energy of that back bend spread across your body. And go ahead and straighten that leg. We'll do the same thing to the other side, slowly turning your gaze towards the side that you're going to draw the knee up along the side of the mat next to you. Find your deep breaths. Rest here. Resting, but at the same time, those back bends can be super energizing. They're a very awakening type of posture. So let that sensation of being awake flow through you. Perhaps bringing some mental clarity to your mind. And then begin to straighten that leg, coming back to neutral. We're going to roll over onto the back. So go ahead and make your way onto your back on your mat. And anything that you're going to need for Shavasana, we're not making our way there straight away, but have it somewhat close to you. We've got a couple more postures that we're going to do before Shavasana. So the first is going to be a side bend. We call it banana asana. And so for banana asana, go ahead and reach your arms up above your head. So kind of wall to wall stretch. You're making yourself super long, toes and fingers reaching in opposite directions. Feeling that length in your body. You kind of release that a little bit so it's not overstretched. And then go ahead and walk both feet over to your left. So you've kind of got your feet kicked over to the side from the midline of your body. And then the hands walk to that same side as well. So you're finding a stretch in the right side of your body. So if you were looking down, if you're up at the ceiling and looking down at yourself, you're in the shape of a banana. You've got your legs and feet are supported by the ground. Your arms and hands are supported by the ground. So there's a stretch there, but it's a restful kind of stretch. And then from here, you can play around with maybe crossing one ankle over the other. You can try both ways, see what feels best for you. And then the same thing with your hands. Maybe stacking one hand on top of the other. Maybe it's circling the fingers of one hand around the wrist. So finding that bind with the ankles and with your wrists, if it helps to increase the sensation in a good way, then do that. If it doesn't feel good, modify, adjust. Take a couple deep rhythmic breaths here, feeling the stretch. All sensation and breath. Let's gently release, come back to center. And once you come back to center, finding a neutral position. Maybe it's bending the knees with the soles of the feet on the mat, resting the knees together like we did at the beginning of our practice. Hands resting on the belly. And take a moment to notice the effects of that side stretch, that banana asana. Where do you feel the energy moving more freely? Where do you feel warm? Where do you feel cold? Let's see if we can even that out. So reaching the arms and legs again, wall to wall stretch. Lengthen both sides equally. And let go of some of that tension from the stretch so you can walk the feet over to the opposite side. Hands walk. Coming into the banana shape on this side. Choosing the position, maybe crossing the ankles. Finding the bind with the wrist. Finding the shape, allowing the body to become still to help still the mind, and then the mind flows with the breath. And gently release. Return to your neutral position. Taking your time. Noticing where do you feel the energy now? In the center of your body. Let's go ahead and bring the feet to their hip distance apart. The knees are hip distance apart. So we're going to lift up the hips just enough to scoot them over to the right side. And then bring the hips back down. So your hips are going to be kind of offset a little bit over to the right. Draw the knees in towards the chest. Go ahead and squeeze those knees in. Stretch out your low back a little bit. And then release that deep hold. The knees are still bent over the belly, over the chest area. We're going to move into a twist. So with the arms coming out to a T, slowly lowering both legs over to your left. Coming into this twist for the abdominal area. And if that bottom leg doesn't rest on the floor, maybe using a blanket or a block here to support the leg. And with the leg supported, can you pour sand into your right shoulder blade so that the shoulder blade starts to move towards the earth? I'm choosing to stay right here. Or another option, if the bottom leg is supported and if you feel like this speaks to you right now, is start to extend both legs. So the bottom leg is supported by the earth, the top leg is resting on the bottom leg. And extending both legs out, deepening the sensation. Find your shape, become still, and then focus on your rhythmic breath. Gently, slowly transition back to neutral if the legs are extended. Bend both knees. And then with the weight of the legs close to you, using the support of your arms, go ahead and come back onto the entire length of your back. Rock out that low back area, the sacrum. You come to the mat. Let's find that neutral resting position again. Maybe the knees resting against one another. And again, observing the effects of that twist. Your physical body as well as your subtle energy body. Setting up for the second side, feet hip distance apart, knees hip distance apart. Go ahead and lift your hips, shift them over to the left. Rest the hips on the mat, knees come in towards your chest, and then as you're ready, both legs, both knees lower over to the right. Finding that support, and with the weight of the legs supported, the nervous system gets the message that it's okay to release into the twist. Pour weight into the left shoulder blade. Let gravity bring it towards the earth. And then choosing your leg position. Keeping the knees bent, or if the legs are totally supported, and if you're inspired to do so by your true inner voice, begin to extend the legs. Follow the breath. Slowly bring yourself out of the twist, unwinding. Find your neutral. Coming back into your neutral position, pausing here, observing, looking to and listening to your own inner voice. What other movements or stretches does your body need right now before Shavasana? When you see or hear or get that message, go ahead and honor that. And then you can go ahead and make your way to your favorite Shavasana shape, adding any layers. We'll take a short but sweet Shavasana today with all of the yin yoga that we practice. Perhaps taking a long rest isn't as needed. If you feel you need a longer rest, when I bring you out of Shavasana, it's totally cool with me if you want to stay in Shavasana for longer. So adjust your body so that you can come into a place of stillness in this Shavasana shape. Go ahead and use the breath to help ease any tension that you're holding onto, letting go of the hands and the feet, letting that go on the exhale. Letting go of any tension in the knees and the elbows, the hips and the shoulders. Softening your ears, your mouth, your nose, your eyes. softening all the skin on your body. And the attention at the tip of your nose, feeling the breath entering the nostrils, going into the center of your being. And on the exhale, feeling the breath go from the center back out through the nostrils into the external world. Moving in to the center and then breathing it back out. And like two rivers, two channels, the nostrils. Bring the energy into the center. And then on the exhale, that old energy is sent back out. The rhythm of the breath. Life itself flowing through you. And we'll begin to shift this a little bit. So as you breathe in to the center, pause there. Maybe stop at the end of the inhale. Hold your attention inward, the center of your mind. And then as the exhale arrives, gently let it go. Continuing like this, finding that pause, that gap at the end of the inhale, maybe holding your attention a little bit longer at your center. And if at any time you feel like you want to stay there in the center, then do that. Begin to bring yourself back. Awareness to the fingers and the toes. Brushing the thumbprint over the tip of each finger, one at a time, feeling that sensation, beginning to feel that movement. Circling the wrists and the ankles, bringing movement back to your feet, your legs, the hands and arms. Maybe moving the head side to side, maybe reaching the arms above your head, finding a wall-to-wall stretch. And then in your own way, rolling to your side. I would recommend rolling to your left so that your right nostril is higher than the left nostril. This is the energy channel, the solar energy. It's good to do in the morning to help wake yourself up. And enjoy a couple deep breaths here on your side. So this position, this is a transition. Transition from your yoga practice into the external world, but knowing you can take everything that you do on your mat, especially from a mental and a breathing standpoint, you can take that with you everywhere and anywhere. And in your own way, go ahead and press yourself up to seated. Coming to a seated position, closing the eyes, Taking a couple of rounds of breath here in this seated position. Once again, as a transition. So you're bringing everything that you learned, that you cultivated in your yoga practice, and you're going to bring it with you into the rest of your day. Next inhale, the arms rise up above the head. On the exhale, bow into yourself. A sign of gratitude for making this time to look inward, to read your own novel, to watch your own movie, to listen to your own song. It's important and you are worth it. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. Namaste.